Hi guys, now we are going to see the topic about the file input and output. See here, first of all, what is file? The file, it is a collection of the useful information. See, we can store the file in the disk, and whenever we need, we can retrieve that file and we can see the content inside that file. See here, now let us see about the what are the operations performed under the file. See here, create new file. Next operation, we can open the existing file. We can read the content from the file. So next we can write the content to the file. So next close the file. See, these are the operations. So that there were the built-in functions. By help of that one we can read, write, open. Next here close. These things and all we can perform. This operation can be performed by using that functions. Now let us see, suppose already existing file, if they were stored in the disk, suppose if we want to retrieve that file, then how we can retrieve? Now let us see. Say where this file were stored. Say for example, if you are creating the file, for example let us assume the C programming file. Say after typing the program in the editor, then that file will be stored to the disk. Next, when we are opening that file, see here, now let us see that process here. Let us assume this one disk. See, this one is memory, that buffer. Next this one file pointer variable. See, whenever we are reading or writing file, it will not directly write it to the disk. See, instead of assume this file name is sample.c. It is located inside the disk. See, suppose if I want to retrieve that file, at very first this will be loaded to the buffer. Here from disk to buffer. Next in the buffer, the sample.c will be loaded. Next from we can access that file by using this file pointer. Say file pointer is nothing but it is a structure variable. It is a structure. File is a structure. Say by help of that structure we can create the structure variable, that is pointer to structure. So that here by help of this pointer we are, what purpose we are using that pointer? To access the memory. So here in the disk, very first it is loaded to the buffer. For example, here let us assume 1000, that base address is 1000. Here by help of this pointer variable, we can file pointer, we can access that address base address. After that we can read or write the content inside the buffer. Next to that step only it will stored to the disk. In same way, say suppose if I want to read this sample.file, here very first from disk it is loaded to the buffer. Next character by character, by using this file pointer we can read the content inside the file. So that here it will not directly interact with file inside the disk. Very first from buffer, after that only we are accessing by help of this pointer. Now let us see opening the file. See, very first it will see whether the file where exist inside. Suppose if the file were not exist at that time, after searching it will return the null. Suppose if the file where exist, then it will load that file. And let us see about the read from the file. After opening the file by using this function fgetC, this function is used to read the content inside the buffer. See, by help of this file pointer we are getting the starting letter. From the starting letter we can read. So that here the fgetC, it is this function, it is used to read the content inside the buffer by using this, by help of this file pointer, that is fp. So that if there is the file, it has the 500 letters. After completely reading the file by using this f get c. At the end of the file, that it will returns the EOF. EOF means end of the file. After completing, finishing, after reading everything, at finally it returns EOF. So here it returns EOF at the end. This is reading the file. Next, now let us see writing the file. For this f put c. Suppose if you want to write the content to a file, then it will write letter by letter in same way. Very first it store to the buffer. After that, from the buffer it is stored to disk. So that here this f put c, it is used for writing the content to a file. Here how it writes by character. See, next now let us see about the closing the file. See here, as after completing everything, whether we are reading or writing, after finishing, when you are coming out from the program, at that time we will close the file. See, the f close, that is the buffer, that content inside this buffer, that file, very first when we are opening that file, this content will be allocated to this buffer. Next it has address, that address were pointed to the fp, that is file pointer variable. See, now after finishing everything, when we are coming outside, here we need to clear the buffer. So here this file closing, it is used to free up the content inside the buffer. So that while closing the file, here inside this buffer, that every content will be stored, that is saved to this disk. Next it free up that buffer. So here what is this address? Here 1000 is stored here. Now this will be null, that is file pointer will be null when we are closing. So content inside this buffer, this also will clear. See, now let us see this simple program, how it's work. See, this is very simple, just we are displaying the content inside the file. See, before that here we should have the file in the current directory, that is test.c. See, suppose if you are having the file in the where you are saving this program, in that same directory, in the same location, if you are having the file name is test.c. Suppose here you are having the content, that is include. Next, void main. Suppose if you are having this 2-line content, for example, let us assume here by using this f open, I am telling to open the already existing file. Suppose let us assume if you are having this 2-line. Next here, this one before that file, this is a structure. For this I am creating the pointer variable, that is pointer structure variable. Here star fp. So that here by using this we can storing the file, opening the file, writing the file, everything we can do. So here for the file I had created the structure variable fp. So that here very first this one is in disk, let us assume in the disk. Here when you are opening this file, this will be loaded to the buffer. This content will be loaded to buffer. Next that here fp, this is the file pointer. Here it fetch the base address, this content will be stored to the buffer, that is in memory. To this buffer, this file pointer fetch the content, and here while 1, that is this is infinity loop. See, until we are telling the break, this loop will be continuously, it will be repeated. If you are using here while 1, why I am telling you? Because we can't give the condition, each and every file it will have the different size. Depending upon that the values will be vary. So while condition we can't give. So here I am using this while and one. Here while one means that is infinity loop. It will until we are giving the break, the value that loop will be repeated. So that here when I am going to stop means here for this ch I am getting by using this f get c. Here f get c function I am reading the value of f from first position, that is the first letter. Here it will store next continuously up to here first that is as symbol it will print, next I, next in, c, next. In this way every letters by using this f get c, each and every letters were read and that letter were stored to where ch, that is single letter. See here, if ch variable is eof then it will gives the break. Otherwise if ch is not eof then it will continually it will be repeated. So here this ch when it will get eof means here for each and every time this f gets this function, it will you get a letter by letter and it will store to ch. Once it comes to last letter, next it will search. Here if there is no letter then this function returns the eof. When it will returns the eof, that by help of the function we are reading letter by letter, character by character. If there is no content at that time it will return the eof. So here if ch is eof then I am telling to break, that means this infinity loop here it will break down, next it will come outside. So here if it is not eof, here it will print character by character in the display screen, that is this output will be displayed like this. What the content inside that file, that content will be displayed here in the output. What is the content? Very first that symbol that will be displayed, next wide main, after that it will come outside. See, after finishing I am closing this file. This file pointer it holds this file. So here when I am closing this fp, in the inside here that starting address, to that it will free up that space. So that here when we are free upping that one, again this content will be saved to disk, next this buffer memory will be free up. So in this way the file can be, that is already existing file, we can by help of this function we can access that, we can read that content, we can retrieve that content inside that file. See, in the same way let us see another one program. See here, suppose already existing file, if I want to find the total number of letters inside that, suppose if I want to see the total number of characters, then by using this program we can see the file. See, for example, let us assume if you are already having the file, let us assume the same file name is test.c. Here inside if you are having the content, that is suppose if you are having this 2 line inside the test.c this file. So here now I want to count the total number of letters inside the file. So here in the same logic here, first I should create the file pointer variable for this file. This is the already predefined structure. For this I am creating the file pointer variable. Next character ch, in similar way I am opening this file name is test.ch, where this file, that is in the current location where you are creating the file this file, current file. If this file also should be in the same directory. If it is in some other directory, then here we should mention the path in which directory that file located. Here we should mention that path, so that here see, after opening the file here, until this is infinity loop, for each and every time I am here I need to count the total number of characters. So here one variable you should declare here. Let us assume this variable integer cnt is equal to 0. I am initializing this cnt, this I am creating the variable cnt to count the total number of letters. So here cnt I am initializing it to 0, so that here if it is end of eof, then I am telling to break. Otherwise I am telling to count. Which one? This CNT plus plus. I am incrementing the CNT. Next I am closing this while loop, and finally here closing this F close that pointer variable FP, that structure pointer variable FP. Next here I am telling to print total number of characters percentage D, after that comma, you should mention this CNT because after counting that result were stored to CNT. So next here after closing this one. See, very simple, as like before only. Here after opening this file, here newly I had created one variable CNT, that is for count the total number of letters. Next here, as you have opened this existing file, after by using this while loop, this is infinity loop, until break this loop will be continuously repeated. See here, very first I am getting the value for CH. See, the F gets, when it will return EOF, if there is no content inside that file, then it will returns the EOF. If there is content, that content will be returned by letter by letter. Here this will be stored to buffer. After that, from that buffer, by using this file pointer, I am getting the starting letter. After that, here read letter by letter. Very first here it will say, that is that until EOF this will be repeated. So here very first this as symbol, so this is not EOF, this CNT will be 1 for each and every time, that from that initialized value it will count one by one. Initialized value is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. See, each and everything it will not read from disk, it will read from the buffer. The entire content will be stored here to this buffer. From this buffer it will read character by character. So here how many letters? This same copy will be here also, that is totally 24 letters here. So here for each and every time it will, when we are reading the character, it will count the CNT, that variable will count one by one. So after 24th letter, next it will see there is no content, so the EOF will be returned by this function F gets. So finally the CH, when CH value is EOF, at the time it will come break. It break means it will come outside of this while loop. So when it will come outside, when it is 25th position, at the 25th iteration, here this CH value will be EOF. So when it is EOF, it come outside. So finally what is the value? 24 is in the CNT. So here I am, after closing the file, I am telling to print the total number of character, that is in the CNT, what the value that will be printed here. So here see the output here, in the output finally it will print like this. See, total number of character is equal to character, if you want you can give equal to, next this letter 24 will be printed. See, in this way we can read letter by letter and we can count that letter, and finally we can tell to display. See here one thing, here suppose if you are leaving the space, then here it will count the space also. By using space bar, if you are leaving some space, that space also will be counted as a letter. So that if you no need that space, without that space if you want to count, means here again another one if condition we can give here. Suppose if you no need this blank space, here we can check like this, if CH not equal to single space, that is blank space, means here you should count, that count variable should be increment, otherwise you should not count. So here before this count you give this condition, that should not be blank space. If it is not blank space, then count the letter. See, in this way we can count the letter inside the file. See, next, see, up to this we have seen about this F gets, that means what this is used for read the character, that is read character by character from the file, that content will be read. Suppose if we want to write, for reading this F gets were used. If you want to write, then we can use F, say this one F gets, not get ch, F gets. See here, if you want to write here, we can use F put C. By using this function we can write the content to the file. This f put c, instead of get c, if you are using put c means we can write the content letter by letter to the file. So now let us see about the f put c. Here also, here argument inside we should pass that file pointer variable. So fp. See, now let us see some more example. Suppose if I want to copy the content of the file to the another file, so that here by using this fgetC function we can read the character by character from the existing file. That content can be read character by character. Next to that, by using this fputC we can write that content to the another file. So here both the function were used here. See, now let us see this example, how to copy the content from one file to another file. Now let us see. See, copy the content inside the file to target file. From source file we are copying the content to the target file. See here, this you should give in capital letter file, that structure. Next I am creating the pointer variable. Here let us assume this one f1. Next this also another one file pointer f2. See, as usual let us here this test1.c. see, this file should be exist. Suppose without this file if you are running the program, then that file will not be found. So before executing this program, these two files should be in the same directory, in the same location. These two files should be there. See, test1.c. next file let us assume test2.c. see, otherwise from the editor itself you create the file and you store some text for test1. See, now let us assume this one for test1.c. I am having the single line, that is include. Totally the single line were stored in this test1.c. Next here this test2.c I had created, but there is no content inside the test2. So that here I need to open the two file now. First file test1 and second file test2. So that here f1 is equal to, by using this fopen, that is function. Here what is that file name? test1.c. Next, what type of mode here I am using? This one is read. See, here we are giving the mode. That mode is read. If you want to read we should use R. If you want to write then you should use W. See here test1.c, here read mode. Say suppose this it is not able to open, means here null value will be assigned to this f1. So here I am checking if here f1 equal to, suppose if it is null, then I am telling to print unable to open file, exit. This first file I had opened. Now I need to open the second file. So that here f2 is equal to same fopen. After that, what is that file name? test2. Next here, say this is important. Now what we are going to do? We are going to write to this file. See, this file we had opened for reading purpose. So I had give the value as R. This file I need to write. So here I should use W. This mode W, it is used for writing the content to the file. In the same way, here if that file 2 equal to null, here you print the, give the printf statement, that is unable to open. Unable to open file. Next, exit. See, I am writing here no space. See, suppose if the file were opened here, you know this will be stored to the buffer. In that buffer, that starting address will be stored to that base address were fetched by the pointer variable, structure pointer variable fp, that is the first letter. From the first letter we should copy the content letter by letter to this test2.c, so that here by we can use this loop while, that is infinity loop. When you are telling break, at that time only the loop will be come outside. So here after the infinity loop, here I am getting the value for ch is equal to, here what is that function, that function name f get c of, here to that pointer variable. What is the pointer variable? f1 here, because this test1 is accessed by this f1. See here, f1 is equal to open of test1.c. So here you should mention f1, that is pointer. Next you check here if ch equal to this, you know already, if it is, so suppose if ch is equal to eof means I should come outside. So here break, for coming outside of the loop you should use break. Suppose if the, here if ch is not equal to eof means there is the content. So I need to store that content to where? To the test2.c. So test2.c, where I had stored, here I get fetched in the f2 pointer variable. So that here by using this f put c, this function, I am using this function argument ch. Inside that ch, that content where that letter, single letter only will be by letter only we are accessing. That content, that single letter I am telling to store to, here the where which file I am mentioning, to that file it will store. Here that is f2, because here f2 is equal to, I am opening this f, that is test2.c. So that here if it is end of the file it will come outside, otherwise the content inside that file will be copied to file 2. Here I am closing this while loop. After closing this while loop, I need to close the file. Which file? Here f1. So that here f close, I am closing the f1. Next f close, I am closing the f2. Return 0. Next closing the main brace. So that here, say here, this main open brace I am closing it here. Next here, this is if condition. First if condition, I am checking whether the f1 is opened or not. If it is not open, I am telling to unable to open. In same way here, second if condition for f2. If I can't open that f2, then here it will print as unable to open. Next here while loop, this one, this is used for each and every letter by letter it store. I am closing this while loop here. Next inside this while loop, if condition, that is this if. Next else part. Here very first there are two file pointer f1 and f2. f1 here I am opening this test1.c. For this f2 I am opening this test2.c. Here f2 is equal to, here I am checking if f1 is null, then I am unable giving the message that is unable to open the file and it will exit. Otherwise here if f1 is not null, then it will continue. In same way for checking for f2 also. See next here I am using the while loop. After if the any problem to open means it will come outside. Otherwise here while 1, here ch I am getting letter by letter from f1. What is this f1? This f1 it content the, that is inside content stored to buffer, and that buffer linked to this f1, that is starting first letter. What is the buffer letter? From that letter by letter it will stored to test2. See very first it check whether that ch is eof. It is not eof because first here that letter is as symbol. So that here this else part will work. In else part I am telling to put ch, that content inside that ch I am telling to put to f2. This f2 pointer variable always it points the test2.c, because here I am opening it by test2.c. This and all will happen in the buffer. That in the buffer, very first that hash symbol that is stored for f2 I am telling here. Next, include, after letter by letter getting this content will be stored here. Include that content will be stored and it will come outside. So in this way we can, by help of this pointer variable, we can access that file. After that we can get the content by letter. If there is letter I am telling to store, after here for example after E there were no content, so in that case here this getC will return the EOF. So if it is EOF I am telling to come outside. So if it is not EOF, then by using this putC, here I am copying that content to f2 pointer variable, so that here finally this content will be copied to the test2.c. See, in this way we can copy.